Hey, this is John Carlos, and I'm here with a look at the DC Collectibles action figure of Supergirl from the CW show Supergirl. I found this figure to be pretty easy to review because it's really damn good. There's a lot of awesome stuff about this figure. I mean, it helps that I'm a fan of Supergirl, the TV show, but they did a good job making a figure of Kara Danvers in DC Collectibles action figure form. The articulation on this is a bit limited compared to some other figures. You got the hinged ankle right there, the double knee joint, but there is no waist cut or mid-torso hinge or mid-torso cut, but you do get the lower bicep cut. There's a swivel right above the elbow joint and then its own elbow joint, and you get the hinged and swiveling wrist. There is also a neck joint, but considering how much hair she has, there is a bit of a limitation to how much you can actually get out of that head joint, how much movement you can get. I mean, you can turn it, but there's not much to there's no real tilt to it. It seems to be a swivel, and if there is a tilt, that hair seems to be blocking it. But the lack of waist cut I really like, just because I prefer sculpt over articulation, and I think like a big hinge right in the middle of her would kind of ruin the design of this outfit and the design of the whole thing. And I really dig the costume in the show, designed by Colleen Atwood. So having this, what I consider to be a really good adaptation of the Supergirl costume into live action form, into action figure form, is great. And I'm glad that it's not marred by a lot of articulation kind of ruining the design, the sculpt, and the flow of things. So despite that limitation, at least even if you can't swivel her waist, the legs, it's a double hinge at the top that goes forward and back, and then the second kind of hinge that goes side to side. But here you can see some nice detail here on the her boots. There's a good sculpt to the texture of them. It reads like fabric, and they're not just a basic red. They're sort of a weird kind of grayish kind of wash that gives it a very leathery effect. So kudos to DC Collectibles for that. The paint on the belt line looks good. You get that soft kind of rubbery skirt here. The cape is made of the same material, and it has a wash too, so it does kind of read like that leathery material in the show. Another fun thing about this costume is they included the little red lines going down the stomach, going across the bust, going across the arms there, at the bicep and going down. That's a nice little detail. It's in the show, and I'm glad they included that in action figure form. I also like the surface of this isn't smooth. You do get that little kind of textured surface to it all across the blue. So that's a really nice detail. I feel like I'm saying nice detail a lot, but what can I say? There's a lot of nice details in this. Also, the paint of the S on her chest looks really good. The red and the yellow paint, perfectly separated and look great. And then the head is pretty good. There's a production photo when they first announced this figure that was kind of worrying and troublesome, but they did they released a second photo, and that's kind of what we got here. But man, that first photo that we got of this figure was kind of, and I'm glad that they really went to the table and back to the drawing board and made something that looks great, because the sculpt here on the hair is good, and the fact that you do get a little bit of brown highlighting the blonde in there looks good. Also, it does look like Melissa Benoist, I think, at least from the profile there. And for what you can get away with in like 7-inch scale action figures, her cheeks, her nose looks good. The lip paint is nice. The eyeball paint is pretty good. Here's just a try to get a better look here at the figure. Yeah, I think just like the eyes and the eyebrows, I think it reads well. Lip paint on this is pretty good. Is it like 100% great likeness? No, but do I ever really expect that from like action figures? Not really, but you gotta admit, it looks like her. This figure comes with a few accessories. We get these little grip hands, because her figure starts out with open palm hands. So we get those grip ones, and then we get little fisty ones. Here's the figure with the initial hands switched out for the fist hands, and yeah, it looks pretty good. Even with this kind of basic articulation, you can still get her into a pretty fun little basic action-y pose right there. Also, here's a look at the cape, because I realized I kind of failed to give you guys a closer look at the cape. You can see the sculpt of the wrinkling there. Looks good, and it hangs in pretty much just the right length that it would in the show. Yeah, I really like this figure a lot. If you're interested in getting this, it retails for 25 bucks at most places. It's available at entertainmentearth.com. I'll put the link in the description below so you can check that out. But yeah, love it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and follow me on Instagram and Facebook and all of that stuff. Oh, and I forgot to do one thing. Duh. How could I do this entire review without putting her in this basic pose? It's like a Supergirl 101.